All right, Friday night, we've got Florida State and Virginia. Florida State, 7.5-point road favorites, 57.5 the total. No doubt Florida State's been ridiculously impressive. No one can deny that. But before we get all carried away with the Florida State praise and before we just run to lay 7.5 points here with Florida State, we do have to factor in that they played one really good team, and that's Alabama, and they looked obviously very impressive. They won outright as almost 2-touchdown underdogs, 31-17. They haven't played anyone since then, though. East Texas A&M, 77-3, and one of the worst teams in FBS college football this year, Kent State, last week. They ended up winning 66-10. I had the Florida State team total over and didn't even have to sweat that last week against Kent State. And the thing is, too, I said, they're off a bye week, too, Florida State going into that game. They're probably not going to look past Kent State because of that. And sure enough, they put a 66-point spot on the board. Look, I had my doubts. I didn't know it was going to work out with Tommy Castellanos, but he's been excellent, when we've seen him in there at quarterback for Florida State. They've been able to run the ball, throughout the course of the season, no question. And you look at a bunch of their receivers. They've got weapons. Their O-line's been very good so far this year. Defense, which was horrific last year, also looks a lot better. We have the one quality opponent to look back on to see that they've improved defensively, and that was the Alabama game. Alabama couldn't run the football. All the yardage was through the air. And yes, Ty Simpson did move the ball a bit through the air, but they did a good job, holding Alabama down in opposition territory and in the red zone. So in their one game against a quality opponent, Florida State's defense looked a lot better, and obviously their offense had a ton of success there against Alabama. So this is definitely their toughest game since then. Now, Virginia's not on Alabama's level, but, Virginia's been solid to begin the year, 3-1 straight up and against the spread. They blew out Coastal Carolina, blew out William and Mary, blew out Stanford last week, 48-20. The only loss was a tough loss that went back and forth against NC State, 35-31. Virginia, I like their passing game in particular. When you look at the run game for Virginia, it's also been pretty solid. They've had nice balance. They're averaging 6 yards per carry, 251 rushing yards per game, 313 passing yards per game. It's been a very well-balanced Virginia offense. Chandler Morris at quarterback's gotten off to a great start. Jamari Taylor, a really strong running back for this group. They can run, they can throw. Florida State, they certainly look a lot better. We'll see how this one plays out. Obviously, this is an ACC matchup. The thing that bothers me about taking Florida State is Virginia's got the kind of offense that if they fall down by 2 touchdowns, back door's wide open with a team like Virginia. They could easily come right through the back door and cover a number like this. But I don't think I feel confident lining up to fade Florida State. They could be a lot better, and the way they just dummied Alabama in that first game, like if they play that way here, they can win by double digits. There's no question about that. That being said, this is a road game on a Friday night.
First road game. Come on.
First road game. And I think I feel like Florida State is certainly better than Virginia, but it's first road game. You've waxed a couple of cupcakes since the big win against Alabama. Not really running to lay 7.5. I don't know if I trust Virginia. I think I can trust Virginia to score a little bit, though. I like that offense with Chandler Morris and company. I think Florida State could do a number on Virginia's defense because that's the concern to me, C-Mac, Virginia's defense. Virginia's really played one capable quality offense this year. C.J. Bailey and NC State. They gave up 35 points. They couldn't stop them in the second half of that game. So give me the over in this game. That's what I like most of all. Over 57.5. C-Mac, Florida State, Virginia.
Yeah, I can't take the over. Maybe it gets there. I just think the game's too big here. Friday night on the road, I think we could see it a little different, but maybe not. Maybe there is a bunch of points in this game. This is why I like Virginia a little bit. I love Morris. This guy slings the ball. Now, it can get him in trouble. We've seen, back with North Texas, he could throw some picks, but you talked about they've been pretty balanced as well. I mean, this is a massive game. Friday night at home. Florida State definitely looks better. What do you take from
I do think Florida
State.
State's a little weaker against the pass on defense than they are against the run, and that could matter against a guy like Morris, who, as you mentioned, he can sling the rock.
Well, and you kind of got to just go off what you've seen in these 3 small games. Of course, they win at Alabama home. They have the next 2 just cupcake games at home where they blow them out. So, have we really seen this defense, especially on the road, hostile place? So if you believe in Florida State, and take them here, if you think this is cheap, I can't. To me, this is just, I have to stay away or maybe look at Virginia. I don't know if I could get there in the end of the day. So I'm off of now. I'm leaning Virginia.
All right, there you go. Leaning Virginia. I think it's a very fascinating game, though. Fascinating game.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. If Florida State drills Virginia, let's say 38-20 or something like that, then we got to start thinking Florida State can win the ACC at that point.
Oh, yeah, for
I
sure.
think we're at that point. And I know Virginia, there's going to be tougher opponents in the conference for Florida State on the way as opposed to Virginia, but still, this is their second real look against somewhat of a competent team to see what this Florida State team is all about.
Well, of course, the big win at home, Alabama, but and their defense, of course, and then Cassiano's. Maybe he's got a great defense, and but I've seen him turn the ball over enough over his years. But maybe if he's got a great offensive line, everything around him, maybe it'll work for him. But yeah, this one. When I was going through this last night, I'm like, man, this is a big game Friday night. There's a lot of big games, like you talked about.
Good one too. I didn't even mention this off the top. This is a really good Friday night game.